Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how to make homemade hand pies, or basically they're a homemade Pop-Tart. And these are some of my favorite things to make because one, they taste amazing. Two, they're really easy and versatile because they're smaller and they're individual, so they're really easy to freeze or to just have available for the kids to snack on or some fast to go breakfast. And my third reason is I get a lot of questions from you guys on what are some ways that I can use up some of my homemade jams and jellies or fruit butters that's not just putting them on toast or a biscuit, though I happen to have fabulous recipes for both homemade bread and biscuits that you definitely want to be putting your jams and jellies on. But this is a great way to just like a fun, different kind of versatile way to use up those homemade jams and jellies and fruit butters, as well as any homemade pie filling that you might have on hand. This is some cherry pie filling. I made some cheesecake and we didn't use all of the pie filling on top of the cheesecake, and I am not about to let any of my hard work go to waste or food from the summer months that we have preserved up. So I've got some cherry pie filling I'm going to use today, as well as some cherry jam. Apparently we're on a cherry kick right now in our house, and that's what I happen to have open. But the great thing is you can also make fillings if you've got any applesauce or different fruit sauce. I like to do a pear sauce as well. You can use that. So pretty much any type of fruit that you've got, you can create your homemade Pop-Tarts or your hand pies really easily with it. So let's grab our dough out of the fridge. So here is my great-grandma's best ever flaky pie crust, and if you have not made this yet and you need the printable, both the video on how to make it and the printable recipe for this pie crust, which, hint, you absolutely do need it. It is the best pie crust recipe out there. I'll have the link below the video, you can go and grab that, but we're gonna take this out and I'm going to use, this makes 4 pie crusts, so it would be 2 pies if you have a top and bottom crust, just so you know the volume there. So we're gonna cut this in half, which would be a top and bottom crust. And then I'm gonna cut that in half again so that I'm working with the dough for 1 crust. And then the rest of this needs to be covered back up, and we're gonna put it in the fridge. We don't want it to warm up. You always wanna work with very well chilled pie dough. So the oven is preheating to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're gonna just dust the countertop here with a little bit of flour, as well as our rolling pin so it doesn't stick to our dough. Now, we're gonna take our dough here. I'm just gonna kind of form it a little bit into a ball, and then I'm gonna smash it into a little bit more of a disc format there. I just find it's easier to roll out that way. So I'm gonna push that down, make sure I've got floured surface now on the top, and we're gonna roll this out. So when you're rolling out your pie dough, you kind of wanna go and then turn it. As we're turning it, it lets us know if it starts to stick it all to the bottom of the counter. And we apply different pressure if we pull the rolling pin back than if we're rolling it out, just pushing it out forward. So this helps us to have even pressure so that we've got a fairly even thickness and or thinness on our dough as we're going. Now my rolling pin is wanting to stick just a little bit. I didn't get quite enough flour on there. So let's go to that again. There we go. And we're gonna take this to about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch thick. So just like if you were rolling out your regular pie crust. There we go. Now, you've got all different kinds of options. You can use cookie cutters, you can use a biscuit cutter, but you wanna make sure it's big enough so you can get a decent amount of filling in there. I'm gonna use a wide mouth canning ring to create an even circle. So I'm just gonna push down, just like you would if it was a cookie. There we go, my perfect little circle round there. And I'm gonna put that right on my baking sheet. You can kind of just wiggle it back and forth just a little bit, because it's not like a cookie cutter. It is metal, but it's not where you have a cut edge. It's rounded there, so you're gonna have to use a little bit more force. Now we're gonna take our scraps, and I'm just gonna push these back together, and I'm gonna get at least 1 more bottom of this rolled out, and that will give me 8 hand pies. And we're gonna put these in the fridge as we bring out the top to cut out. Oh, and my scrap piece. That needs to go back in the fridge too, because I can use this You know it's good pie dough when you're eating it a little bit raw. Well, all the way raw. So good, you guys. Okay, same thing. Let's get this flour down again. A little bit on the rolling pin. Form this into our disc. And then we're gonna flatten that out just a little. And roll. Okay, these scraps we're gonna put right back into the fridge. Now it's time to assemble. So first up, I'm going to take some of my cherry pie filling. And I want to make sure that I get about a tablespoon on there. And I'm definitely making sure that there is some of the cherries in there. Okay, so now it's time to get our top pieces on here. So we're gonna put those right on top. And then we're going to take a sharp knife and we need to make some slits. That's also gonna help it, one, it needs to release the steam so they don't explode all over, but it's also gonna give us a little bit more give with this top piece of crust because we're putting it over top of, obviously, a filling. It's not flat. And then you're just gonna push that down. And if you got a little bit of too much filling, it's gonna leak out the sides, not a big deal. And then you're gonna take your fingers and we're gonna kind of push down and crimp seal these edges. So we're gonna get those pushed down. Then you're gonna take your fork and we're just gonna go around the outside edge and press down. And that's just gonna give us a fun little pattern, and it's also going to crimp and seal those edges even more. Now, if your dough is starting to get warm, you can take the tops here and just stick them in the fridge as you're working on the ones that you have on hand. So now we're gonna put these back in the fridge as we get ready for the final touches. So we wanna create an egg wash and treat the top of our hand pies. One, it gives them that beautiful golden, shiny finish on the pastry as it bakes. And it's also going to help a little bit of sprinkled sugar stick on top. So I've just got one egg here. I already put a tablespoon of cold water here into our little bowl. Just gonna take a fork and whip that together really quick. And I am a messy cook, hence the apron. I actually find I damage my clothes or stain them more in the kitchen than I do working outside on the homestead with the garden and the livestock. So I always wear an apron. But here's my thing, a messy cook, pretty sure it's a sign that you're a great cook. At least that's my story, and I'm gonna stick to it. So we've got that all mixed together, and I have got a little pastry brush here. You can use any type of brush that you want, but a brush really does help us get it on nice and evenly. And now we're going to take our hand pies out of the fridge, give them their final wash, and get them in the oven. So we're just gonna do a light brushing on them, just the tops. Now we're gonna take just a little bit of sugar and we're gonna sprinkle that just on the very tip tops of our hand pies. It just gives a little bit of a nice texture and it really makes them fun. Okay, these are going in the oven. We'll check them at 25 minutes. Okay guys, so our hand pies baked for 25 minutes and they smell amazing. Oh my goodness, I wish that you could smell them. So now it's time to see if they are cool enough. You can see this was an ungreased cookie sheet. It comes right off. And if you don't have it quite crimped all the way down, you may see a little bit of filling that leaked out on the edges, but rustic is in. That's what I call rustic baking. So let's take a bite. You guys, I can't even. This is so good. The buttery flakiness with the cherry pie filling in the center. Oh my goodness. These are so good they could almost be illegal. No joke. Truthfully, the reason that we homestead and do all this homegrown and handmade, honestly, it's because it tastes so amazing. It really is all about the food. I probably really should be doing some like test photographs of these right now, but I'm just gonna sit here and eat it instead because it's really that good. Worth every calorie, for real. So I will link to the printable version of this below the video. And if you want to learn how to can low sugar jams and jellies without store-bought pectin, or even with store-bought pectin, and homemade pie fillings, applesauce, all of those delicious things so that you have them sitting on the shelf so that you can whip these up anytime you want, no matter what time of year it is, and you do, trust me, you do. I've got a link below. I've got a free canning series as well as an entire canning course with all of my favorite recipes. So you can dive into that too. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I cannot wait to see how you like this recipe.